We want to see thriving communities where all people can find a sense of belonging and contribute to shaping the future of Aotearoa. Young people are integral to nurturing strong and inclusive local communities and intergenerational mentorships and exchange, allowing for the passing down of taonga to form the foundation of the future. In order to achieve this, we need to celebrate and welcome diversity, including faith, cultural, rainbow, disabilities. Foster intergenerational relationships through reciprocal learning, having inclusive spaces that nurture collective belonging, grow with and learn from other communities, learn from and overcome conflict and struggles peacefully and compassionately. Ensure that the community's young people have a space and are encouraged to bring their passion, energy, experience, and mana, creativity, and imagination. When this shift happens, we will see communities as a place where everyone is heard and their mana is recognized, where young people flourish and can reach their full potential and drive innovative learning, innovative lasting solutions, and positive change.
Our leaders have a responsibility to ensure that social media and technology is free from speech that has intent to harm and is not propagating discrimination and hate. All platforms must ensure that their spaces are free from any form of speech with malicious intent, in accordance with the Christchurch Call. We are calling on our leaders to rejuvenate and decolonise our education system to empower all young New Zealanders to learn. We want an education system that is values-based, that encourages curiosity and instills an acceptance of all. An education system that is value-based will create a sense of belongingness in Aotearoa and a sense of pride in our collective home. To enable this, education must be tailored to all learning needs, both inside and outside of the classroom. Te reo Māori must be compulsory in schools, but we must recognise that this is just the first step in recognising the value of Mātauranga Māori embedded in Te Ao Māori. We must be taught an unbiased account of our history, both pre- and post-colonisation, that is developed with iwi, hapu and whānau.
We did not get an unbiased history of our nation. In fact, I can tell you that King Herod was shot in the eye in 1066 at the Battle of Hastings, which is of no use to me or anyone else except in quiz evenings. But we learnt nothing of our Māori history. The language of the first 4 ships is so insulting to those who were there before. Here before, and the one good thing that's come out of the rebuild has been the reinstatement of the narrative prior to European settlement in the rebuild itself, so embedded in the built environment and also reflected in our new natural environment as well. Both histories now stand side by side, and that's, I think, hugely positive. But how do we have conversations, courageous conversations, about these really tough issues with people like me who weren't educated in an unbiased fashion and might see it as a reflection on what they understood the world to be?
So I want to mihi to you, and where we talked about how education needs to be unbiased is because some of us have such a different knowledge base of what the treaty stands for, and I'm lucky that I learnt from home. So I learnt a lot of my stuff from Tuhiwi, and it's just unfortunate that I haven't really been able to share it with these guys because we've only had a weekend together, but I think when we have those courageous conversations, we actually need to go back to values. And, you know, when we talk about whanaungatanga, you know, we all need to connect, first of all, because that seems like we're not connecting, and that seems to be the easiest. Like, let's just connect first, you know, and then we go into manaakitanga. We have to look after each other and respect each other, and that's what I know for myself I've appreciated about everyone here and you guys, is that we've actually been able to create that space. So now it's just making sure that anyone, no matter if we're rangatahi, if we're pakeke, if we're kaumātua, we can all come together and have those honest conversations. And sometimes we won't be on the same page, and sometimes that's okay as long as it's done with love.
You're talking about how do we have these courageous conversations, but I think it is difficult, but we have to remember why they're important. And as people who generally don't have the knowledge of the history, we need to kind of make the effort to do that. And that burden is on us as individuals, as a community, and to carry that through to your institutions and your workplaces. And when we truly have a bicultural nation, when we've engaged with our obligations under Te Tiriti, then we can have a multicultural society that will instantly open that up. And the importance of that is if we don't, like the consequences here in Christchurch were life or death. So think of the gravity when you're thinking about how difficult that situation is and the consequences if we don't follow through and have those courageous conversations.
I did tell you I would be back. I did tell you, like your mother or your grandmother, I'd be checking up on you, and I did exactly that. I Facebook stalked you. So I know exactly who you've been seeing, who you've been talking to, what you've been doing, and I know who you've been influenced by. I even got to watch White Man Behind a Desk. And actually, I'm going to steal one of his lines. I really like the idea of democracy is like a pot plant that someone gives you, but you forget to water.
I'm really interested to learn from you about what projects have come out of this. What's your role now? What from your discussions this weekend are you going to do? Because it's all very well giving a statement and you're largely talking to people who are in institutions. But some of the biggest change will happen because of your dedication to this work over the next 10 years. And it will probably take 10 years to achieve. But I'm really interested both from the panel at the front and all of the audience on any projects that emerged from this weekend that you're going to work on with others or together, or ideas for projects that you're going to do that you want help with. Because that's a huge role that this group here can all play.
Just quickly, one idea that we were talking about, today we went out to
Haitara,
to plant and leave our taonga here for Christchurch and connect us to Christchurch, for those of us who aren't from here. So as we were planting this, we were talking and we're like, man, this is really like self-care. This is really quite fun. Like, we can name them, we're talking about getting the geolocation so we can tell our mokopuna and all these things. So from that, what I took from that is that going back to Tauranga Moana, we have a community gardens. So bringing our rangatahi into that and building that community by also feeding them. So they not only get to put in the mahi, but they get the treats afterwards of the kai. And then they also get the treats of meeting all of these amazing people like we had today. And yeah, just having some good laughs and hopefully not hitting anybody with the spade. So yeah, that's one thing that I'm taking away from this forum to go home and to try and replicate back there, is to create that community around the gardens. Kia ora.
I would just beg of you, don't be satisfied if you get answers that are not satisfactory, and remind your elders, hang on, where are we going? You owe us something. So don't leave us as in a comfortable place, if that makes sense. Thank you.
I think that what we need from you as the older generation, and I know this is preaching to the choir, I know that you support what we are saying, but we need you to support addressing that racism at that level, because when we say it, we're not respected by those people.
But I think one thing that I'd like to build on is, I know coming up as a young person who tries to be a leader, you're so often put in a box by the older people who are in decision-making positions as a youth leader, a young leader. And I would just personally just ask of all of you to stop using that term. Because every single person who stands up and wants to be a leader should be accounted as a leader, not just one of the youth, not just to be consulted with and put in a box and just to have that tick. Treat us as real leaders in the community who have something valuable to say and something valuable to contribute, and give us a seat at that table, not as a token thing, but as a real position. And that's what I'd ask for.
I think one of the biggest issues that we face as a generation is twofold. First, we're told that our opinions don't matter and we are systematically disenfranchised from participating in decision-making processes, and then when we do turn out, we're told to be silent. We don't pay rent, we don't pay rates, we don't pay taxes. And so what I think needs to change is a level of parity and respect, because respect has to go both ways. And I think there's work on both ends of youth and adults and decision makers towards creating a world in the society where people can feel more enfranchised and more incentivized to participate and to feel like they are going to be heard.
So the education system is undergoing its biggest transformation in 2 generations right at the moment, with young people at the heart of it. And we have globally the most democratic education curriculum, where young people like you choose what you want to learn. It is, for example, a massive youth development program, so that all young people in Aotearoa can participate and contribute to society. So I'm asking you, what advice would you give so that I can hold my colleagues and others can hold their colleagues to account for the fact that you are the people we serve, not you?
Like I said, I didn't know anything about the treaty really until I got to university, which is a tragedy. And looking at the education programs we have all the way through, so also looking at how we're educating our future professionals. So how are we educating our teachers? I know at our university there's 1 treaty paper for a 3-year program. So how are they supposed to then go and teach our rangatahi about the treaty? So really looking at all factors of education, not just primary, not just early childhood, when it is very, very critical, but looking all the way up, all the way into our training programs as well.
So I believe that due to how bad colonisation has degraded our cultures and the harsh state that we're in, these actions that we got to do with our curriculum, with our policies, when we make our changes in these institutions, we got to do them with some fire and some flame and some real passion, because we're in these indigenous cultures that are so rich, so powerful, so undervalued, are in a position that require us who have the louder voices, who are confident. We need to step up and do it unapologetically with some real mana and power. And I acknowledge that New Zealand is far ahead of many other countries in how we acknowledge our Indigenous peoples, but I reckon that's a strong step in our movement forward.
It is my honour, on behalf of the UNESCO, the National Commission for UNESCO in New Zealand, and on behalf of all the dignitaries assembled here, to take your taonga, to take your words. Each individual here will take them back to their organisations, to their networks, to their communities, and I like the challenges that you had, both at the individual level, the community level, and the organisational level. So everyone sitting here has 3 sets of responsibilities. But I also want to remind you, which I did say on Friday night, is that these will go international. These will be taken to the next UNESCO forum. Your words will have international reach. You're not just making Aotearoa, New Zealand, a better place to be, you are making the world a better place to be. So I can only close with the whakatauki, because I think that really has tied together all the threads of what these 3 days have been about. Mā te rongo ka mohia, mā te mohia ka marama, mā te marama ka mātou, mā te mātou ka ora. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa.